Alright, so Plethon was born in 1355 and died in 1452. Now, I'm going to end that part there, because I want to go back. I'm going to go way back. Um, where did paganism actually start? Okay, I've kind of done this out of sequence, but it's okay, because you'll understand why in a minute. Um, the history of paganism actually began around 10,000 BC during the Paleolithic Age, which was a time when primitive people were nomadic and had to hunt for their food. And this is actually where the whole belief of the god of the hut appeared. The bed worshipped the sun and the stag-board god, and the language of the animals, as hunting was crucial for their survival. The women, who were the childbearers and the healers, were those who took care of the tribe and were looked upon as having more power as they were the givers of life. It was actually during this time that women started discovering that their bodies were in tune with the lunar phases, and therefore they worshipped the moon, the goddess deity, and they were the ones who led the rituals. There were some men, however, who had to stay behind from the hunt with the women due to the fact that they were either old, they were sick, or they were injured. And usually the women would share the secrets that they learned and the mysteries of the lunar cycle. So that covers way back. Moving forward a little ways, by about 2,000 years, around 8,000 to 7,000 BC, agriculture was discovered, quite by accident, as the food the women stored in the ground began to grow. With this realization that the people could plant and grow their own food, came the realizations of the mystery of fertility. Up until this time, however, the deity had been the goddess of the lunar cycles, and the men did not understand what the role in what the women's role in that cycle was part of up to this point. They didn't understand the point of their role in life cycle. The discovery of agriculture actually proved that to the men um, that they too had a part in creation. Prior to this, there had been a division between the men and the women for the most part, and after this discovery, they had to work together, and they no longer needed to follow the herds for food to survive. This here is the time when they actually became paganized. The word pagan means country dweller. For the people, were now able to settle in one place, breed animals, and grow their own food, and this is when the people began exploring and discovering the mysteries of life, death, and rebirth. Um, as time went on, they migrated to Rome, and those who came from Greece came with many of the same beliefs that the Romans had, and they worshiped different gods and goddesses, but the gods and goddesses shared many similarities. Um, Moving forward in time, the Druids were predominantly men with very few women. From the time of about 6,500 to 4,500, there were still remnants of the solar lunar cults that dealt with animals, herbs, and the mysteries who intertwined in the pagan communities, and these people were known as the Weiss, and they or the wise, and they developed the power and understanding of life in the earth, and these were the keepers of the mysteries. Um, However, in Druid uh, paganism, women were still the ones who led the rituals. Same goes for the Celts. Um, from about 0 ACE to 650 ACE, the Old Testament was being written in the Middle East. After the death of Christ, the people from the Middle East spread out across the land, spreading the word of Christianity, and eventually came to Rome. And this is when the mass conversion began. And I'm just going to leave it at that because I already told you about that. Um, During around in that time, however, the first scriptures of the pagans emerged and was held by two Celts. Um, Around 1100, which was around the Dark Ages, that's when they began. No writing went on during this time, and it was like the lights went out. Um, the Christian conversion continued to spread, and the Holy Wars began. When the Christians decided that the new ways were not catching on fast enough with the pagans, the Christian leaders began asserting that the pagans worshipped and consorted with the devil, and the Inquisition began. In 1494, two Dominican monks, who were inquisitors of papal bull of Innocent VIII, by the names of Kramer and Springer, produced the book The Witch's Hammer, which laid the groundwork for the Reign of Terror that swept Europe well into the 18th century. This period, as many of you will know, as the Burning Times. It has actually been estimated that about 9 million men, women, and children were actually either held prisoner, stripped, starved, deprived of sleep for countless days on end, horribly tortured beyond human comprehension, and it was all to obtain a confession that they were doing witchcraft. And in the end, they were either burned, drowned, or hung. And originally, The Witch's Hammer was originally rejected by the Literary Council because of bias and hearsay, and was actually forged later on so that it could be printed. The last accused witch to die under the laws of The Witch's Hammer was actually in 1747 in Australia. All of those in the craft went underground for fear of persecution until about 1951, when the last of the anti-witchcraft laws were abolished in England. It was at this time that a man named Gerald Gardner came out from the underground and published his first book called High Magic's Aid, when he published, which he had actually published originally as a fiction book, under his witch name as Skyer, S-C-Y-E-R. Then in around 1952, he published a non-fiction book called Witchcraft Today, and thus the whole New Age religion of Wicca actually began. Wicca became a legalized religion in 1985 and has grown at a furious pace since then in North America and Europe. An approximate number of pagans surpasses over 250,000 in North America alone, and the number is believed to be much higher as many pagans and Wiccans lie on their census forms for the fear of modern-day persecution, which actually still continues today. At this point in time, I'd actually like to make a note that the actual practicing of the Wiccan religion and witchcraft are two different things, okay? Witchcraft may be incorporated into Wicca, but it is not all Wicca is about, okay? So I hope you all enjoyed this little history lesson, because I sure as hell know I did. I absolutely love history. History has to be one of the biggest and coolest things that we could possibly learn about. Because if we don't learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. And that is my honest and true opinion on the matter. So I hope this was enlightening to all of you who are pagan, and all of those of you who say that Wicca has not been around for ages and ages. The basic forms still go way back. Okay? It has just been modified over the years. So I hope you all enjoyed this. This is Lady Silver Vixen, and I'm signing out for now.